Hey, so first off, thank you for clicking on this video. You're probably a weirdo if you're clicking on a video about Quake 4 in the year 2025, but I'm an even weirder weirdo because I'm making a video about Quake 4 in the year 2025. Because it's like, who the frick gives a crap about Quake 4? Like, no one cares about Quake 4. And you know what? I kind of get it. The first couple hours of the game try their hardest to convince you that you shouldn't care about Quake 4 because it plays more like a Halo ripoff or something. And honestly, I almost stopped playing like 90 minutes in, and it doesn't help that I don't even care about the Strogg in the first place. So for a little bit of history, Quake 4 is the fourth game in the Quake series, but it's actually a sequel to Quake 2, which has nothing to do with Quake 1. Quake 1 came out in '96, and it was awesome. Trent Reznor did the soundtrack, and it's this weird mashup of like fantasy and science fiction and Lovecraft, and it's not exactly horror because it's still super fast, it's still very much a boomer shooter, but at the same time it's more horror influenced than the original Doom games, I think. And then the year following they came out with Quake 2, which is basically just a completely different game because it's about the Strogg, who are essentially the Borg from Star Trek. And they go and they want to assimilate other races and they want to turn humans into Strogg and make them join their civilization or whatever. I replayed both of these games very recently. Quake 1's awesome except for the final episode, episode 4, which freaking blows. And then the entirety of Quake 2 is pretty decent. It's a fun game, but at the same time, it's kind of a shame that we never got an actual proper follow-up to Quake 1. And then Quake 3 is just a multiplayer game. It had no official campaign or anything like that. And then they announced Quake 4 and they were like, yeah, we're doing a sequel to Quake 2. And it's like, why the frick would you do a sequel to the worst of the original 3 Quake games? And you know what? Quake 4 is actually really freaking good. As I was saying, they try really hard to make you not care about this game. All of the writing for it is just so generic almost. It just kind of feels like every single military trope rolled into one thing, and it's actually kind of lame. And like I said, the first couple hours play like COD, and the walking speed is so slow. But then the game actually gets good whenever you get all of your body parts cut off and you become a Strogg. Because basically the guy you're playing as, I don't even remember his name because he doesn't talk. But anyways, your guy, he gets captured by the Strogg, and they go and they chop his legs off and they cut him up and they give him brain pieces or whatever. And so he becomes a Strogg, but his squadron or whatever save him right before he can actually be brainwashed into becoming a Strogg. And so you get to keep all the upgrades. You got your legs chopped off and you endured a bunch of trauma, but you know what? You're pretty fast and you're strong, and you can eat more health now. You can drink health from whatever the bags of flesh on the wall are. I don't know what those are, but they're kind of gross. They sort of look like a bowl sack, only worse. And honestly, I can say that about a lot of the stuff in this game. A lot of it's just kind of fleshy and gross and looks like ball sacks. Like I said, the beginning of this game is kind of boring and generic, but then the further into the game, the sicker and more disgusting it gets, and that's what I really liked about it. There are a bunch of levels in the factory where they make Strogg. Basically, they just take all these people and then they just chop them up and then they turn them into Strogg, and you know what? It's really gross. This game is way more of a horror game than I was expecting. You see, I've never heard anyone call Quake 4 a horror game, and the reason why is because no one freaking talks about Quake 4 in the first place. And like I said, the game tries really hard to make you not like it, but it's actually really good. It's like shocking because of the fact that, like I said, I just replayed Quake 2, and Quake 2 is an action game through and through. There are no horror elements at all, but then Quake 4 kind of ramps the horror up to 11, and it's just very gross and disgusting, and at times it reminded me of Dead Space. Even though Doom 3 was very much intended to be a horror game, it feels like Quake 4 is a more effective horror game. And the reason why is because Doom 3 is just kind of built on jump scares, and I think it's a great game, even though it probably goes on too long. But Doom 3 is awesome, but I think Quake 4 is just more effective in its horror because it's more disgusting. There's a lot of really intense, disgusting body horror, but the thing with body horror is that some people are going to look at it and go, oh man, I'm aroused. I'm really turned on by this. I wish that were me. And I may or may not have sent a picture of this scene to my cousin and said, this could be us, but you playing. But I just really love the gore because it should be obvious, you know, that if you're taking humans and you're trying to convert them over to Strogg, if you're trying to convert them over to cyborg people, there's going to be a lot of flesh and gross stuff coming off. And it's kind of awesome because the Strogg actually, they care about the planet, I guess, and so they recycle everything. They recycle all the flesh they use. So if they can't turn you into a soldier for some reason, I don't know how screwed up you have to be to not be able to be a soldier since they chop your freaking legs off and just tear you up. But anyways, if you're too messed up to be a soldier, then you can be the equivalent of like a lamp. And I think in a lot of ways, the gore found in Quake 4 is actually kind of the natural conclusion to the original Doom games. Because the entire thing with Doom game is that you have the organic demons of hell combined with super technology. And so you have the cyber demon, for instance, who has like metal legs and a big cannon arm, or you have the spider mastermind. And so I do think that while the new Doom games have gone in a more cartoony direction, Quake 4 was definitely trying to gross you out. And I think the Strogg in this game are way more effective enemies than they were in Quake 2, just because they're so much grosser. And really, that is the main reason why I enjoyed this game so much. Because the actual shooting's fun, as I said, the story kind of sucks, but the art direction and the enemy design and everything like that is just so creative. And it feels like Raven Software, who developed this game, actually had to go in and think, if we chopped all these legs off, where would they go? If we made people into machines that looked like this, then what are we doing with their blood and their guts and their flesh? And so I thought that was really cool, and I even found myself longing to be one of these creatures, but alas, here we are. I beat the game a week ago and it's been on my mind, but I genuinely can't tell you that much about the game. I just remember all the disgusting parts and all the stuff that was really gross and gory. And there's a part where like one of your leaders gets captured and then he shows up again as like a tank and he's like, no, I can't fight it. No. And he reminds me of the Hulk for some reason. And I think that you're supposed to feel some sort of remorse whenever he dies, but I didn't really care because I didn't feel emotionally connected to any of the characters. Whenever you return back to the ship, you know, you get Strogg surgery and so you become a Strogg, but you're still conscious and so you team up with the humans still. And you hang out with all your other fellow humans because you're still on the human side despite the Strogg surgery. And then there's one dude who starts talking smack to you.
How many Marines did they tear apart to build you? Be careful, freak. Lose your bodyguard and you're dead meat. Be careful, freak. Lose your bodyguard and you're dead meat.
And he starts bullying you and insulting you, and I just wanted to be able to kill him, but alas, I was not allowed to, so that kind of sucks. By the way, it's worth noting that if you're playing this on like Windows 10 or 11, then you have to go into the config file of this game and mess with it. If you don't, then the textures look all blurred and stretched and they look like this. But really, it's just a few lines that you have to copy and paste into the config file to make it work. But really, I like this game a lot because of the fact that it was so disgusting. But I think it's just really disappointing that the beginning of the game was so boring, because as I've said, I haven't heard anyone ever talk about Quake 4, and I think it was kind of dumb to make a sequel to Quake 2 in the first place when they could have made a sequel to Quake 1, which is, you know, I think by all accounts a better game. But Quake 4 I think is way better than Quake 2. I think it's a way more enjoyable game. There are some vehicle sections in the game and a lot of people think they suck. I don't really mind them. I could have done without them, but all in all it's kind of whatever. And like I said, I think it's better than Doom 3, which is crazy because I just replayed Doom 3 and I like it a lot. But yeah, Quake 4, which I played for the very first time recently, I think it's a lot better. So anyways, if we got any Quakers out there in the crowd, then drop your favorite quaking moment. Drop your favorite, drop your moment in the game, from the game that made you quake in your boots. Buy a box of Quaker's Oats. Anyways, thanks for watching this. Hope you enjoy Quake. If you do, or if you don't, then I hope you don't enjoy it, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of tired. I'm just kind of laying on my bed rambling. And so I've been talking for about 20 minutes now. So thanks for watching. Have a nice night. I love you. Kiss, kiss. Anyways, bye.